Hey guys, I got this channeled message about being born in the dark, and I was reminded heavily of Bane from the Batman series, or from just DC universe. I was picking up on this energy of imprisonment, also enslavement, and these kind of honestly being strengths. Like, I know that dark energy, like our pains, our shadows, and our traumas usually are like associated with being weaknesses, but in this particular situation, or at least at this time, there's value in what makes you dark or like taboo or obscure, you know, like hard to see accurately. This is the moon, which goes through phases, as we see like in the circle here. So I think there's something about how you're transitioning or moving through life right now, oh my gosh, that could be revealing to other people more about you that maybe like other people normally can't see. Like, I'm getting this like dark side of the moon energy, which is like an album by Pink Floyd. I'm also hearing Money by Pink Floyd. Grab that cash with both hands and make a dash. I think that's the words. I'm in a and I'm tapping that on this Tarot Obscura deck, and I'll show you. This is a skeleton deck. This is a card that is in the reading that I literally just posted. Every man is haunted by the good he did not do. Like actions that you haven't taken, or know better than to take. But yeah, this is a skeleton deck. So some people have, like, you know, maybe there's like death associated with your growth. And if it's not death of other people, it could be death of selves, right? Like I'm talking about like you having multiple phases, because that's be like multiple personalities. Like my last name is HYDE, and I have an alter ego. So there's Soldier of Sekhmet and there's Island of Lions. There's like my light attribute, my light self, and then my dark self, my feminine aspect and my masculine aspect. And the reason why there's such a like clear distinction between those two for me, like there almost are multiple selves, is like, I think, you know, rooted in the fact that I'm mercurially like ruled. So my energy naturally is neutral. So to be in any energy intentionally is like, you know, they're in stark contrast to each other. Like my feminine energy is dark feminine energy. And if you see me in like a feminine presenting way, it's usually, I have an Aries Venus in my 8th house, which is Scorpio influence. So it's very margin on like a feminine aspect. It makes me dark and like aggressive in matters of love and career and finance, which is good because it means that I'm the kind of person who can like strive towards like advancement in my career, and I'm like willing to do that, and I'm not maybe as limited as other people are in that pursuit, because I'm allowed to embody darkness even in my positivity. And then my masculine energy is light masculine. So like when it comes to what I do for work, like I'm literally sitting here recording motivational and spiritual content. So that's my duality in this world. You might have something similar or you might have something different, but regardless of what that is, it's part of how you are, if not all of how you are, you know, psychologically speaking, was developed when you were like by the time you were 7 years old. Like your personality is kind of decided. So everything, think of like what happened in your life, like trauma wise, since before you were 7. If you like have contact with your parents, like you might want to like ask questions, like Tarot Obscura. There were things that I found out about how I was raised that I didn't find out about how I was raised till like way later. Like it wasn't until like my mom had my little brother that I found out that my mom, like, part of how she raised babies is to get them to like not cry. Like I guess she is overstimulated by like the crying sound occasionally, which makes sense. Like I think any human being would be, but because she's a single mom, I think one of her adaptations to being overstimulated by her own children is to like silence them. So whenever she couldn't, like, you know, it was like, okay, now be quiet. Like I wasn't a kid that, okay, can you, that makes me mad. I'm sorry, drink your water. I feel like you do that on purpose. Hold on, guys. Lay down somewhere, son. Lay down. Lay down. You're not laying down. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, but that kind of like threw me off. Fuck, and I think that it was intentional. There's an energy of distraction here coming in. Like my cat now suddenly has the zoomies. I don't know what that's about. I'm trying not to be like caught off by that. Because part of my shadow actually is a tendency to become easily frustrated. Like I have a short fuse, I have anger issues, and that's from my father. So I talked about the mother being like easily overwhelmed by the emotions of other people, like having a tendency to like kind of want to like silence them or cut them off before that has the ability to affect them in a negative way. And then in my father's case, it's like the exact same thing, but the method for how that's like carried out is different. Like my dad is more of that aggressive energy, whereas my mom is more of like, I'm gonna make you feel bad for being what you are. Like my dad, well, I guess it's kind of the same. It's more like my dad's more the type to like, you know, hit you in the face, like punch you in the face. My mom is more the type to like degrade you verbally, you know, not that they wouldn't both do both, like, because they both have done both, but you know, I'm talking about the darkness that you come from. So any like abusive or difficult or traumatic early childhood experiences, and I'm saying early childhood, but like all the way up until like you're 18 and like, or whatever you considered yourself to be an adult, if you are one right now, that's kind of what I'm talking about here. Because even like my mom kicked me out of her house when I was 18 years old. So, and then before that, she was like starving me out, like neglecting me. So you might, you know, just be naturally predisposed to higher amounts of darkness just based off of who you are, where you come from, and it's part of your skill set here. So this is a Labrador Parrot that I actually found. Like I lost this months ago and it just reappeared on my carpet. I think my cat had something to do with that. So, cause she's the one who, I have a lot of crystals, but she only really likes to mess with this one. Like my heart, I guess it's interesting because she has that stellium in my Aries 8th house. She represents my shadow. Like she shows me. Okay, so what's going on with this Bane, born in the dark energy, shadow work, literally, drawing down the moon knowledge. So you could be going through like a period of your life right now where you're going through a lot of shadow work. Like there are a lot of external experiences to remind you of who you are. That's important. Because if you're like, for example, at this phase right here, and you forget what it's like to be at that phase right here, you want to remember where you came from. Like it's important. In terms of like even where you're continuing to go, like if this was like a diagonal line, then you want to have an idea of what your trajectory is and what might cause you to veer off course based on your own personal weaknesses. Because I talked about how like shadow can be a weakness, and it definitely can be, but I feel like it's only really like likely to be a weakness when you don't know how to control it. Yeah, moon and detriment. This is a lot about like what kind of makes you fucked up and how you respond to that. Like, if you're the kind of person who knows you're fucked up, but then doesn't want to, like, I mean, like, how do I put this? How do I give you, like, an example? Okay, let me just do it this way. Let's say, for example, you're racist. Or let's say, for example, you're homophobic, right? And then, like, your homophobia is based in, like, maybe with this moon and detriment, Capricorn energy, the authorities of your life, like people, like masculine energy around you, what you feel like you should be. Moon and detriment is like emotional. It's the most difficult place for the moon to be, and the moon represents your personality, your inner world, and like your emotions. So it just kind of feels like you are putting yourself in like an energy of scarcity that doesn't necessarily have to exist, especially if you as a homophobe are also gay. Because then it's like an extreme amount of like self-hatred. And if you don't ever acknowledge what it is about you that makes you dark, then you're like fighting against that when it's natural to you. Like, I have an Aries Venus, which is a naturally detrimented Venus placement, which means I've only had like one relationship in my life, and I was 16 and it was 6 months. So, you know, I'm not the kind of person who's like commonly in relationships, but that doesn't mean I don't have very intense like relationships. And I say relationships, I don't mean like formal all the time, because like I only had that one formal relationship, but like I've interacted with people. Like I personally have been set aside to become the most developed and like refined version of myself that I can be before I come into alignment with something more fulfilling when it comes to love, because the kind of experience that I want to manifest, with the fact that I come from so much darkness, because I come from like a divorced family where there was a lot of cheating and a lot of like manipulation and gaslighting and abuse. You know, I come from like a lot of the darker things of this world, and so it would make a lot of sense that it would be harder for me coming from like all the way over here to get all the way over here without having to make a lot of progress. You know, like I might have to like go around a couple times before I actually land over here, because there's just so much to kind of like work on. And that doesn't mean that I shouldn't like be open to experiences to do that, because there's no way I can work on my like wounding unless I have these experiences. So even if this isn't like a relationship that's romantic, this could be platonic or like familial or whatever. Like, let's say for example my mom or my father is watching this and they get the opportunity to like hear me speak about what it was like for me to grow up. That's an opportunity for them to reassess themselves in whatever way. That they may not ever, you know, like it's highly possible because they didn't when I was living with them. So, you know, these people around you may not be willing to transform in the same way that you desire to, if you do desire to, right? Because not everybody who was born in the darkness actually wants to leave the darkness. Some people who are here may be more concerned with like dominating the darkness. Some of you guys want to be the darkest of the dark and not the lightest of the dark, and that's totally your choice too. Like, I'm not here to tell you guys who you should be. I'm just here to kind of like explain the energy. I hope that is making sense. Not that I think that you guys should be bad or like whatever. It's just that I don't think that I have the authority to tell anybody else how to live their life. So as a reader, I want to always consider the possibilities that are being shown to me, just in case someone needs to hear this stuff, because there honestly aren't a lot of dark energy readers. You know, like I've noticed that like as I go through YouTube or TikTok or whatever, like I'm one of the darker people that are on here. And I feel like that's part of my niche, is that I know more about the dark than most light people do, because I come from it. Like, I come from a background of like trafficking of human beings and like, you know, like really the shittier stuff of the world, the dark side of the moon. Like, that's where I'm from. So, you know, you could have been like born in the trenches in some kind of way, or some kind of like you got dealt a difficult hand of cards. Like, even when I was born with 2 holes in my heart. Like, they didn't even release me from the hospital immediately because they didn't know if I was gonna live or die. And then even after I went home, my mom had to like watch over me to make sure that I wasn't like dying in my sleep. We have moon cycles, like I've said. Patience. I think you're developing. Honestly, however you are right now, you probably won't be like that forever. I don't know if you're developing towards the light or you're developing towards the dark further, but regardless, there's a development here. Because I think you might even feel inspired to expand in some kind of way here with like this redder energy. And that's like really related intrinsically to whatever development is happening over time. Like, if you're feeling called to move towards something, like I just got like this boxing thing in my head. I just saw people fighting, so like maybe you want to learn how to fight. Like, that's like maybe a development towards dark because it's defensive. Not that you can't use that towards light, right? Like, you might learn something and then teach it to something else, to someone else. Like, you know, in The Walking Dead, when Morgan is like down bad trying to like kill everybody and just clear, and then he meets that guy who was in a similar place, but then he learned Aikido, and they taught him how to like not kill people, but like put them down, like just knock them out or whatever. There's like a value to you going through whatever you've gone through, just for the ways that you can transmute that to other people. Yeah, take a breath, windstruck. So there's a lot of like energy of being still in this energy, and in the movie, I can't remember the name of the Batman movie, right? Is it Dark Knight Rises? something like that. I can't remember right now. I'm sorry. I'm kind of embarrassed. But you know, like after his back is broken, he has nothing to do but to heal, you know? So he's sitting in the cave and he's listening to the people who are in the trenches, and he's like sharing culture with them, and he's developing further. Like, he is a rich, you know, white guy from the city and he ends up in the desert in a hole, you know? So it's like it is a culture shock here. And there's a need to like take that in and allow that to hit in the way that it needs to hit in order for you to like do the things that you need to do and become the person that you need to become. He had to hear the stories about other people who had overcome the same exact difficulty, because everybody was like, oh, this is impossible. Dark side of the moon! Mystery. So don't expect to like be able to like predict your own future here, because you probably can't. Not even I can predict my own future. And I do this for a living. So try to like remain as detached as possible. Like, I honestly kind of want to rewatch that movie now, because I'm like foggy on the details, but I'm pretty sure at one point, Bruce was like depressed in the hole, and he had to kind of like get himself back together. Because his confidence was wounded by the fact that he wasn't the strongest, and that somebody actually was capable of defeating him. Or at least like posing a stark, like being strong in opposition. Because the thing about the dark side of the moon is that you don't know what that is, so it can really come towards you with anything, and you may even underestimate that if you aren't taking the time to clearly like see everything that's at play. The devil! Yeah, you're dark as shit, actually. Or at least that's your potential. Like, you could easily be top 4 boss demon if you wanted to, I think. Like, I know that I relate to this as a witch. Like, if I wanted to be a lot more evil, I definitely could be. But I save that for people who are, like, most deserving. Which usually is, like, sexual predators in my life and in the lives of children around me. So, Temperance in reverse. Dude, this is a card that... This is Sagittarius and this is Capricorn. These are some of the more, like, darker energies to me. This is usually a guardian angel card. But it talks about, Sagittarius as a sign talks about the battle between the higher self and the inner beast, and gaining maturity over your own actions. This is the last fire sign, and this is the last earth sign. So how you are showing up in the material world is as a dominating force, as someone as a person that's more powerful than what can be seen also, and as someone who may have even like hidden support that comes from maybe some of the darker forces of the world. So for me, I work with the dead. If you're like a clans member, because that could be you if you're here, for sure. Then like maybe it's the clan and the institutions that are connected to the clan. But either way, you should expect to be matched up with people who can meet you in the middle. So however strong you are, you're not the only one that's that strong, and you shouldn't expect that your signature can't be opposed. Like, there's a force that is perfect to oppose you in some way, and you kind of need to anticipate that, especially if you are existing in this high level of like darkness, like an immoral level of darkness, because not all of you are behaving immorally. I think everybody has like a different sense of what that means, so I'm gonna try not to like speak too much on like morals here. But I do feel like morals kind of are important with temperance here, because I feel like with this, like, it came out originally in the reverse, you're probably an unconventional kind of leader. Like, because you have this darkness, you're likely to behave in ways that people won't expect you to. So if people are approaching you, not understanding that you're dark, thinking that you're lighter than you actually are, because they like how you perform in their life. Like for me, like in this role as a tarot reader, I perform in my masculine in my job, because it's a masculine function. It's providing and producing. But it's like energy reading, and it's like light. I'm hoping to inspire and motivate and empower. So if you like only see me in this context, you might think, oh, she's like a really good person, like she's super nice and she's so like but you have no idea about the fact that like I come from what I come from, and that because I come from what I come from, I actually am what I come from, and that I can choose to resist my natures but I still have those natures, and then I have to remind myself and like constantly maintain over like the cycles of my life this self-control, this mastery over my own internal world, and how that affects everything around me in my life. because I can't allow myself to be naive or ignorant to my own darkness, knowing that I have so much of it, or understanding that I would have so much of it coming from what I come from in the world. Because if I were to be like, oh, that doesn't exist, because I don't want to like look at it, then it has the potential to then rule me instead of me ruling it, you know? Because part of what allows you to be this like angel on earth is the fact that you would have mastery over this. So if you don't have mastery over it, then you're a demon instead. And I mean, you can choose to be an angel or a demon if you want to, but I think most of us here actually would prefer to be angels. If you're a demon though, like if you're here and you're like cross-watching, or you don't have to be cross-watching, this could be for you. Then you could expect to like be matched up with some angels in your life right now that are gonna have genuine points of opposition towards you. Even Bane, you know, he comes as like this darker energy. We want to like see him as a villain, but there could be areas in his argument here that actually are valid, and there could be opportunities even coming in where you have the chance to like really witness people in their darkness. So if you're the Bruce, then like you could see the Bane and understand what makes the Bane, and if you're the Bane, then you go into the Bruce's world and you figure out like you're excited to like wield the power of the Bruce. You're being advanced into like Bruce power because of how you've integrated your, you know, light or masculine energy in some way. Okay, let's try to like wrap this up. I feel like I've pretty much spoken on what needs to be spoken on. Yeah, I don't think I should continue. But I feel like, you know, that's something that, like, you know, there's a point to, like, reassessing and like, reconfiguring here. Like, making sure that you are where you want to be. And, like, checks and balances. And that's a government process. You learn about that in civics and economics. So, it's important to maintain or, like, create a system of checks and balances here. Because you want to make sure regularly that you're like stopping in to check in with yourself to make sure that you're not more evil than you can live with. Because you have a lot of power. You have a lot of power. Like the other day, I got an email from someone who booked a reading for me in March, and I somehow like didn't fulfill their reading. Like, I didn't see it or something. I don't know what happened there, honestly. Like, a lot was going on in my life this year, so I'm not surprised that happened. And when they reached out to me, I was like, yeah, I gotta give this person a refund. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that I gotta give that person a refund, because I don't want to be the kind of person that says I'm gonna do something and then doesn't do it, because that would be me living in my shadow more than what I really want to. Not that I couldn't get away with it. I probably could. But I don't really want to. It's not who I want to be. And this is Capricorn 10th house career energy. Like, this is how, like, you're publicly respected. So there's something about that. You want to make sure that how you're seen in the world is something that you can stand by and that you can accept, because people maybe will walk away from you if they find out that you're not in control of yourself the way that you present yourself to be. Because like I said, people are like moving into alignment with you now. And they maybe could be more perceptive to your dark side of the moon than you might expect them to be.